Good morning and welcome to one and all who are present here. Myself, Professor Akanksha Sharma, Head GNDC School of Architecture, Ludhiana. We all have virtually joined here on this online platform,
Myself, just give me
World
a second.
Environment Day 2021. This day is celebrated on June 5th every year to remind people about the importance of nature. The theme for World Environment Day 2021 is ecosystem restoration. As per United Nations, we cannot turn back time, but we can grow trees, green our cities, rewild our gardens, change our diet, and clean up rivers and coasts. We are generation that can make peace with nature. Let's get active, not anxious. Let's be bold, not timid. With these words, I shall take your lead. I invite host of the day, Architect Harvish Kaur, Assistant Professor, GNDC School of Architecture, Ludhiana, to take it from here. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I, Harvish Kaur, Assistant Professor at GNDC School of Architecture, is host for the event. We all have virtually joined here on this online platform to mark World Environment Day with an expert lecture. And this event is jointly organized by GNDC School of Architecture, the Indian Institute of Architects Ludhiana Center and Punjab chapter, and the Institute of Engineers Ludhiana. We are privileged to have with us our expert for today, Dr. Anil Prakash Joshi, founder at Himalayan Environment Studies and Conservation Organization, HESCO. We also acknowledge the presence of members of IIA and Institute of Engineers, Ludhiana. Now, I would like to invite Honorable Principal Sir for his welcome address. So, please.
Thank you, Harvish. Respected Dr. Joshi, faculty and staff members of GNDC, members of Indian Institute of Architects Ludhiana Center and Punjab chapter, and Institution of Engineers Ludhiana chapter, and students, professionals from various institutes across the country. On the behalf of Guru Nanak Dev Engineering College, I welcome you on this online program on ecosystem restoration, which is need of the hour. So, ecosystem restoration is very hot topic in these days because of the ongoing problems worldwide. So this World Environment Day, as we know, is celebrated across the globe to respect and acknowledge everything that environment has given us, and to take the pledge that protected. So on this day, governments and various organizations, institutes make their efforts to generate awareness about the environmental issues. So I congratulate the GND School of Architecture that they have taken this initiative to organize a talk and program on this important issue. So talking about our expert guest speaker of this day, Dr. Anil Prakash Joshi. He is PhD in botany and has been honored twice by President of India, Padam Shri in 2006 and Padam Bhushan in 2020 for his outstanding work for the betterment of society. So he has also been awarded Jamnalal Bajaj Award, Ashoka Fellowship, the Weak Man of the Year Award, ISC Jawaharlal Nehru Award, and many more. So he is currently holding many prestigious positions like Environment Advisor for Government of Uttarakhand, Executive Council Member of National Institute of Rural Development, Government of India, and many others as well. He founded Himalayan Environmental Studies and Conservation Organization, that is HESCO, in 1979, and ever since then he has been tirelessly working for the betterment of society. So he has worked on many innovative projects like water mills, spring recharging, river recharging, and many more. So I am happy that such a wonderful personality is among us today, and definitely our audience will get a lot of information and awareness over his talk. So once again I welcome Dr. Joshi, and we are grateful to him that he has spared his precious time for this online event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Principal Sir. Now let's begin with the session. And before that, I would request the audience to please keep their microphones on the mute mode. And if you have any kind of query during the session, you may enter in the chat box, and doubts will certainly be entertained at the end of the event. Now, without any further ado, I would request Dr. Joshi to please address our audience. Please, sir.
Please accept my good wishes, and I'm very honored that I am invited here for this discussion meet on Environment Day. At the outset, I would definitely say that nothing to celebrate as such. We normally have been saying celebration of Environment Day. Unfortunately, we have not contributed anything ever since so-called Environment Day is in place. You will all agree with me, it is almost 4 decades. In 1972, around Stockholm meeting, thought of having a day where we collectively think that how we can do and help the Mother Earth. But honestly, there are two things happened. One, a slogan that sustainability, ever since this came from the Stockholm United Nations, every project of ours, we have been writing sustainable and sustainability in our program. And so is the case of the Environment Day. We have been celebrating, saying that we are here to celebrate. The fact is that, honestly, let us ask to ourselves individually also, how we have contributed to save the environment. Why I'm saying so? Why I'm saying so? If you all somehow way or one or other know any small river or the river that you have bigger in around you, or the quality of air that you inhale, the food that you are eating, that is the soil, what I'm trying to say, and also the forest cover. Have we been able to save them? If we go back to the 1972, and it is the 5th decade we are now into. So what is that we have saved so far? But every year on 5th of the day we celebrate, called celebration of the environment. What is there to celebrate? Honestly. So what I'm saying, why I'm saying so, sustainability is also a word. What is sustainable? Can you tell me anything which today on earth we can place that this is sustainable? Only one thing persistently happening, that we are deteriorating our environment. See, you compare it for the last 1 decade and you will find, unfortunately, we do not have any database which can support us for saying that another 100 years we are very happy, we are very safe in front of the ecosystem growth. No, I don't think we have any. Of course, we will definitely have something related to the GDP, and GDP, because this is the only mantra that again imposed by the European when they begin the Industrial Revolution. And in 1935-40, this GDP word came, and every country tried to measure its growth through economy. It is doing in front. So the GDP is everything. When the GDP is everything, how do you think that growing GDP does not kill your environment is another very important issue? Have we ever debated in that front? Have we ever thought, if this is a GDP, where do we stand in ecosystem? Our ecosystem stand. What is the status of the river? We have 400 small rivers and 12 major rivers, but all of them are not placed as healthy. river. Most of the smaller river, which has rain fed, we call Gad, Gadera, these small water sources. Many water bodies, can you see that at the time of the independence in 1950, we had about 25 lakhs of pond, talab we used to have. They are hardly, we are left with the 5 lakh only. So is the case of the tube well, which is a source of water, the Kuwa. Most of the water sources have almost depleted. The rate of the loss is 1 meter every year. Now look at the quality of air. See, 20 years ago, you were very happy to inhale the so-called air. Now the same air, which we also call prana vayu. Now the same vayu is taking our prana. So if it is happening, and so is the case of the soil, because we could not maintain our soil structure, and to meet the growing so-called population food need, we have been, as you see, aggressively using the chemical fertilizer, and there are reports that the carcinogenic, the cancer reports are all across the country, and globally we are also very vulnerably, WHO have already pointed out. Now on this scenario where you don't have a quality air, 90% people in the world are exposed to very poor, air quality. And at the same time, we have 4.6 billion people around the world who cannot be happily placed as a good in enjoying the water. And at the same time, if you look into the forest cover that we have, you see, 1988, when we came very serious that the forest is to be saved, in 1988 there is an act came. All of you are aware with that. So whatever the act had done, and it was in fact because of the Chipko movement that we had here in the Uttarakhand. See, and we have been given, one act came by saying that above 1,000 meters there won't be any felling of the tree, but at the same time, all states of the country were requested or expected to have in their respective 33% of land under the forest cover. Can you tell me which is the state which has these 33% forest cover? Now you see, UP, it is hardly 4-5%, 7% in Bihar, 12% in West Bengal, Punjab, Haryana very poor, and there are only, except the Himalayan states, especially the northwest Himalaya, we don't have that forest cover. And even the tree that we have been planting, and when we aggregate the forest cover that we are trying to, we have augmented so far, so we also count the trees like poplar and the eucalyptus. If that is where we say, because the tree does not mean a tree, a forest means it has a relation with the soil, the climate, because it has to contribute back to the soil and that climate. So therefore, the chemistry between a tree and the soil never understood. We have been, every occasion we try to find out that how best we can do. How can best we do? We plant a tree but forget the next day where the tree has gone to. Now, if this is the mindset that we are living with, so are we very serious about? And let me tell you some of the stories. You see, recently one report had come from the European Space Agency that about 170 kilometer by 25 kilometer glacier from Antarctica is detached and has now come to the sea. What does it mean? And at the same time, when France report came, there are many scientists collectively worked and the 200,000 glacier, and found that the rate of melting of this glacier is very fast. It has almost been double since 2000, year 2000. Now, what does it mean if the glacier are melting? See, let us all know that 70% above water needs of human globally are dependent on the snow-fed rivers. If the Antarctica every year using 3 trillion ton of the snow, and the algae is appearing now there, You can imagine what Antarctica is likely to be. And once this all happen, you see the whole sea, the ocean, the level will go up, and the many countries which are at um the bank of those those oceans will also submerge into. Now we have already spoiled the earth, but this ocean we have also further damaged, because already reports are there. There are 400 dark zone in the sea ocean, because the kind of kachra that we every year have been putting and throwing into the sea through the small rivers or the many bigger rivers, ultimately they go and merge into the sea, but they carry with them everything that we do as a waste. Now dark zone has come. That means the life have begin to be finished in the ocean also. And also, let me tell you the story of the earth also at this point of time. Knowing the fact that this 4.67 billion a year ago, this earth came, and because it was a fireball. But by 3.80 around billion years ago, the first life came on the earth. Earth and sea in between the two. That time the temperature of the earth was, the water around was 75 degrees centigrade. And within that inhospitable environment, the mother earth gave birth to a unicellular small life, and that we call Leuca, last universal common ancestor. That was the common ancestor of all of us. And that ancestor not survived in the oxygen. It was hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, iron gaseous. It survived with them, and the life came on the earth. And in place, when he was fed with the hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, it began to release oxygen. So oxygen till was not the life supporting element by that time. But once Leuca began to multiply, cyanobacterium came, then there is a number of cyanobacterium made the country, the earth full of the oxygen, and that we call the oxygen event. Oxygen era begin with that, and that these first lives are called superheroes, because they brought the life and made better life for other following the other and then the diversity begin to came, and ultimately it is a human came. And then added advantage of the human the mother earth gave was that it has a mind, a buddhijeevi that we call. Now look at this buddhijeevi, what he has done ever since. The 12,000 years ago, whatever disturbance we had been doing, we had 27% untouched land. In 10,000 years, what we have spoiled, and we are left only with the 19% of the land which is untouched. Otherwise, human activities have gone everywhere. And with the result, what has happened? This is in front of you. The story of glacier, I've already told you. Most of the rivers in the country are drying up, and so the soil, it is more chemical now, and the pollution of the air is everybody aware of. Now, what a science role that had come. The science role became further. Unfortunately, science brought the alternative. Science did not work on augmenting of resources. It worked on alternative. When the water quality stooped down and the water became scarce, the water bottle business came. It is a science product. Then the water purifier came. It was another business that came into. The alternative came in the form of a business. So we made all these the earth resources as a bada bazaar. And so is when quality of air stooped down, we have bought the air purifier. We have not been seriously and collectively working how to augment our resources. If we are consuming so much of it, let us be more science into that, how best we can make a better water set, and the forest cover, and the river more strongly current, with the greater current they go with, they clean, because running water is always a clean water. Now, as I said, the most important source and development indicator was considered the gross domestic product. Let me tell you, this GDP is, it is infrastructure, services, industries, and the agriculture. It collectively gives you GDP. Now look at this GDP. What happened to the GDP? We were low all after almost 200 years. We are all after the GDP. Well, of course, 100 years now, we have ever since the 130, it came in 1935-40. People at Europe thought after the industrial revolution there has to be a growth indicator, and they put GDP, and it is accepted by all of us across the country. And our prime minister, the chief minister, everybody, China, America, in terms of GDP, they place their growth and status they define. Now look at this GDP. What is a GDP? Who are more benefited with this GDP? If you can say, no, there is a large disparity. In our country, 1% people have the wealth, 40% they control in this country. 63 important people of this country have the more wealth than the union budget that we have. And also not here, globally also 2153 people hold the wealth, which is equivalent to 4.2 billion people. Now look at this GDP, so disparity, but at the same time, two things happened. When is COVID and Corona came, please don't isolate Corona from the nature, because ultimately we have brought Corona. It hasn't come from the another universe. Either we made a wild life as a food or some biological tool we were making. Ultimately, it was the human. Now this COVID came, see the GDP patal mein pahunch gayi. You see, the major discussion more now is around that the GDP ka kya hoga. And you see, if you look into the newspaper, last year also the lockdown around time, we had a lot of problem. Every time was said that what will happen to the GDP. We have lost the ecology and ecosystem. The first time in 4.5 decades, we had never been able to generate awareness about the nature and environment. But the COVID and the Corona in 2 years only realize all of us what is the nature. And everybody now became serious of a health. And you see the way हमको तो मुंह दिखाने के काबिल नहीं रखा, सबके मुंह पे ढक्कन लगा दिया इस कोरोना ने कोविड में. This is nature. You cannot say that this COVID is other than the nature. It is our product. And when you will enter more and more into the wild domain where they have their own life, their own system, when we begin to go into them, naturally we will carry the diseases like this. You must all know that for the last 1 decade, what is happening in new names, with the new names, number of diseases coming, swine flu, bird flu, and what other diseases have come in the last 2 decades, the new diseases. At the same time, number of the new storms, sea storms are coming. They have never been heard before. You see, we could not finish one sea storm, the ocean, which spoiled the whole, the Western Ghat, the Gujarat, another. We have the Yas, another storm that had come. Now you see what is all happening. This is the time that we really need to think. Introspection is also required, because we are all after economy. We have never thought that ecology and ecosystem growth is equally very important. If economy is Jahan, so ecology is Jan. Now you have to see that which you prefer. If you prefer both, so now pay your attention to the ecosystem growth. And therefore, we as an environment ecology people at Uttarakhand had become very serious about. And then we fought for almost a decade that there has to be another growth measure beside gross domestic product, which is an economic growth measure. We really need to have an ecological ecosystem growth measure. The state must seriously tell us what is the forest cover they have increased by quality, quantity. What is the amount of water that the rain gave us? How much they conserve to recharge their streams? and the river and the other water bodies. And what is the quality that we have been able to brought? Third, quality of air we were able to improve. And also that the soil we were able to enrich with the organic, made it organic. Collectively, we have been pleading that there has to be a parallel growth measure. This is economy and this is the ecology of the state. Let me tell you, you all be very happy. Yesterday only, the government of Uttarakhand, the first time in the world, have launched with the constant and persistent when the movement that we had, have declared and announced that they will be giving a gross environment product parallel to gross domestic product. I think this is a wonderful, because GDP may be mine or not, because it belongs to the people, and the GDP product are more, which give you a lavish life. But the ecosystem growth means soil, water, air, that gives you a better life, that makes you healthier. And it does not mean that it is a rich or poor or something else. Ecosystem and a tree, a river, air does not, look into who they are giving their services. And we have been able to bring one ecosystem growth measure in the state. Hopefully, we had recently with us Niti Aayog Upadhyaksh Rajiv ji, and we had a long discussion with him. Hopefully that we tomorrow or sometime can take. My only request with the Principal Sahib and all of you is that you should also, you today have an Environment Day, and then I was honored that you invited me here. But will you say this whole thing will finish today only, or will you be serious about taking this gross environment product issue a matter of discussion between among the faculties, the larger public, so that it becomes, because we should all remember that, we should all know that if there won't be a better ecosystem and periodical ecosystem growth are not seen and measured, and state and individual are not made accountable, see, we will be every year doing the same, clapping, sitting together, and then we will finish next day. I request that this day should not be only celebrated a day. There has to be something taken out of the thought, the discussion, the meeting that we have, and make it a, because principle of nature says consumer must be a contributor. So if it is so, the another nature laws say that you are a dependent. You are not independent. You are dependent on soil, water, air. You are a dependent structure. The Mother Earth says. Second is you are interdependent. There are all lives that we have around. They are interdependent. And third, very important, don't forget you are a chemical system. Your whole body is made carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus. And other lives also are made from the similar constituent. So chemical system you are transferable. You are transferable from one to the other bodies. And as I said, जीवश्च भोजनम च जीवा, किसी भी जीवित चीज का भोजन ही जीव होता है. We have been eating plant, we have been eating the crops, fruits and everything. So that is one chemical system to our chemical system, and when we disappear, we go back to the soil, and the same cycle keep on happening. So remember, see, every living being has a role on the earth. So see what is said, Mata Bhumi Putroham Prithivyam. We are all children of the Mother Earth, and it is not the human only, all lives around us. With this, I thank you for this honor, and I'm very grateful that I'm invited here. Thank you very much. Please accept my pranam.
Thank you, sir. That was undoubtedly a very informative lecture, and I'm sure that our audience present here would have learned a lot and become motivated to do better things for our environment. Now, audience can ask questions to clear their doubts.
I'll be only another 5 minutes with you, please. I have another place I have to go to. Please. I
Okay.
requested earlier. Please.
Okay. So now I request Dr. Arvind Dhingra for the vote of thanks. Arvind Dhingra sir is
Yeah, yeah,
the
ma'am.
You
Thank
can
you.
you can forward me any question that you will have in the future. I'm all time accountable. Whatever I spoke, I'll definitely love to answer them, and that will have an association with you too. I believe so.
Sure, sir. We'll definitely get back to you with all the questions we have. Now over to Arvind Dhingra sir.
Thank you, Dr. Vish, and I, on behalf of Guru Nanak Dev Engineering College, the Indian Institute of Architects, and the Institute of Engineers, Ludhiana local chapter, thank wholeheartedly Dr. Anil Prakash Joshi, who spared his valuable time and has enlightened us with a new concept of GEP, Gross Environmental Product, which I believe is going to be the game changer, as the Uttarakhand government has already done it. I also thank our principal, Dr. Sahajpal Singh, who has been the motivating force behind us for organizing such events and has been instrumental in edging us to make these events happen. We would like to tell Dr. Joshi here that we planted some trees across along the boundary wall of the college, and we are planning to have a full boundary wall covered with gulmohar trees. So that will happen very soon. We are already in the process of procurement, and before the rainy season starts, these trees will be in place. I also acknowledge the presence of architect Sanjay Goyalji, who is director Smart Cities Ludhiana, and of course we do acknowledge the presence of Engineer Ruplalji Mahajan, who is chairman Institution of Engineers Ludhiana local chapter, Engineer Sujit Singh ji, secretary Ludhiana local chapter, honorable members of Institution of Engineers, including Sir Balbir Singh ji, Engineer Varun Chandok, and Engineer Kulveer Singh ji, and all others. I thank the Department of Architecture, School of Architecture, GNDEC, for organizing such a wonderful event. And I would request all participants, if they have any questions, please do type in the chat box. The chat box is open. The meeting will be open for some 10 minutes. We will forward all those questions to Dr. Joshi and will revert back to you with the answers, which we assure you on behalf of Dr. Joshi. So thank you very much, and for sparing your time on a Sunday morning. It's been really a pleasure to hear Dr. Joshi. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Over to Madam Harvish.
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful event, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining with us. See you next time. Till then, it's goodbye.
Thank you, ma'am.